Shalom, shalom, family. Y'all climb on in. Got a few things we're gonna be discussing today. A lot of people been asking me about blood work. I read a lot of blood work every day, all day. So I truly wanted to teach y'all how to read your own blood work. That way these doctors can quit bamboozling y'all, and these doctors can quit lying to y'all. Y'all be able to actually read y'all blood work y'all selves. So what we got on the screen today is self-diagnosing, learning how to read your blood work. And then of course we got the Q&A at the end. So I'm going to teach y'all how to read blood work. We're going to go over a complete blood chart, what you call a CBC scan, and then we're going to go over a renal chart, which is to test the blood, testing the blood flow and seeing for real the production and functioning of your kidneys and your liver. So y'all climb on in before we get started. Climb on in here. All right, I see y'all climbing in the building. Got Rod, shalom, shalom. Arkren, Yisrael, shalom, shalom. Fee, shalom, shalom. Rod Davis, shalom, shalom. DeWitt Ali, shalom, shalom. Paul Bateman, my brother, shalom. Trevor, Nazi, my brother, shalom, shalom. Raymond, climb on in here. So what we're going to go over today is I'm going to show y'all how to literally read your own blood work. We got a lot of people going into the emergency rooms to get blood work done. We got a lot of people going to doctor's appointment to get the blood work done. But then they sit down with the doctors, and the doctors either tell them that their blood work was bad or they tell them that the blood work was good. But they don't explain or break down what was bad about the blood work. So it leave a lot of us looking like, okay, well, I got all this blood work, but what do it mean? They said my liver was bad, but I don't know how to check it on the blood work to see that my liver bad. They say that I'm anemic, but I don't know how to check to see from the papers that they gave me that I am anemic. They say that my blood sugar is low or high, but I can't check that. They just told me I have leukemia, but I don't know how to read that through the blood work. They told me I had bone marrow cancer, but I can't check that and read that through the paperwork. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go through the entire CBC chart today, and we're gonna break everything down, whether you in range, whether you out of range, and all of that. And then that way, when you go get your blood work, you can read it yourself. And then when you send it to me and I send it back to you and I tell you what I came up with, you actually have the knowledge now to be like, dang, that's what's going on with me, and this is what I need to do. So today we're going to go through the blood work. We're going to read everything. We're going to put out the potentials, what if it's high, what if it's low, and how to fix the problem, y'all. So that's what we're going to do today. If y'all ready to get started, type in some 9s and we are going to get it started. Of course, I'm going to be sharing my screen, so let me go on and pull up on Facebook real quick, and let's get it going. So again, this is called self-diagnosing. Learning how to read your blood work, Q&A. Y'all can ask anything y'all want to ask at the end, of course. All right. So let me pull this up. Let me go on and pull up. All right, everything working good. All praises, all praise. All right, let's get it started. So let me share my screen and we're going to pull up. We're going to get straight to it. Y'all climb on in, family. Make sure y'all get y'all a pen and a pad and write this stuff down. A pen and a pad and write it down. We're going to go through each stuff, because a lot of this stuff is abbreviated. We're gonna call out the real names to them, write them down, the definitions, what they mean, and what they do for the body. Okay? All right, let's get to it. Let me share my screen with y'all. Share screen. All right, if y'all can see my screen real good, let me know, and then we're gonna get this started. So what we are looking at here is a CBC with a differential details. So we finna go through this blood chart, and we're gonna break everything down. We're gonna break everything down, and we're gonna talk about what it's talking about. All right, so the first thing you look at when you look at any type of complete blood chart or a CBC chart, the first thing that should pop up on there is your WBC. Okay, now WBC stands for white blood count. What your white blood count is your immune system. That's what makes up your white blood count. Your white blood count indicates whether your immune system is basically working perfectly, or if it's not working perfectly. All right. So when you look at the white blood count, you see the range. The range, and look, and let y'all know too, each different state you go to, they standard ranges do change. It don't be off too much, but it do be off by like a 500,000. Okay. It do be off by a 500,000. So we see with this particular place, theirs is 5,000 to 10,000. That's what your white blood count's supposed to be at, 5,000 to 10,000. Well, what we see in this particular person, which is a female, a black female, by the way, we see that hers is 16,000.1, which is considerably high, y'all. Now, whenever you see a high blood count like that, now remember, the white blood cells is talking about the bone marrow cells, and the white blood cells is your main immune system response. This is what makes up your main immune system response. We see that hers is high. Whenever you see a white blood count this high, it just shows you that they either been using steroids, they either had recent surgery, a lot of stress been on them, or they on their way into an infection blood viral load, something that we would call like a bone marrow cancer, or what we would call early stage of leukemia and stuff like that. Whenever you see them white blood cells shooting up, that's the white blood cells either producing themselves immaturely, or they're producing themselves at a fast rate to go fight off some type of viral load or infection disease. So whenever we see white blood cells this high, this is never a good thing. The whole thing is to keep it between 5 and 10, 5,000 and 10,000. We see hers is at 16,000. So I know just by looking at her white blood cell, I know that she's fighting some type of infection or some type of virus. Okay. Now, if it was low, that is weak immunity. You see that in people that truly have like HIV. We see that in people with full-blown AIDS, where the white blood cell count is so low that it can't fight off any viruses. It can't fight off any infections, but the infections is there. And when I have clients send me a sheet and I see that it's very low and it's below 5, this let me know that it's liver disease. Liver disease is on its way, or low kidney function is on its way. All right, now when you see the 5 point. These are going by thousands, y'all. This don't mean 5. That literally means 5,000. This means 10,000. She's at 16,000, meaning it's very high. So obviously she had to go through some type of surgery. She been on some type of steroid. Her stress levels is way high, which means she's producing too much cortisol, right? And she have a blood disease, whether it be leukemia, whether it be bone marrow cancer, or whether it be just any type of blood disorder. That's what she got going on. But see, when you start reading a whole CBC chart, which stands for a complete blood chart, in a holistic way, we can narrow down whether it's leukemia. We can narrow down whether it's some type of cancer. We can narrow down whether it's anemia or sickle cell once you read the whole thing together. So far, I'm just diagnosing what I see just from the white blood count so far. All right, so if y'all got that, let me know, and then we'll keep it going. Now, remember, the white blood cell count is always talking about the immunological system, the blood work that makes up the immunological system. And hers is at a 16, which is very high. So she has some type of infection going on. She has some type of viral loads going on. Some type. And if it was very low, that just means her immune system is so weak now and it can't fight off the infection. And that's the reason why she's not producing enough mature white blood cells to go fight. All right. And if it's very low, that also means that liver disease is most definitely on the way. And check the eyes. If the eyes have the brown ring around there, that brown cholesterol ring around the iris, that indicates that she do have liver problems too. Now we're going to move on. We're moving on to RBC. RBC actually stands for red blood count or red blood cells. Now, the red blood cells is one of the best important blood cells inside your body, because not only do it creates and make up certain type of red blood cells that fight and help builds up your immunological system, but the red blood cells also is what brings oxygen and cellular respiration throughout the whole body. Throughout the whole entire body. And one of its main functioning is literally using the lungs to bring oxygen and iron phosphate to put inside the red blood cells due to the thymus gland and due to the spleen and everything else that makes up the blood count of your body, produced by the bone marrow to send these things out to the body to bring oxygen to each cell in the body. So now we see that she have an infection disease because we're looking at the white blood cell count is very high. Now we looking at the red blood cells and we seeing hers is low. What do this mean? This means she's not producing enough red blood cells. Now, the first thing I'm going to say, if you're not producing enough red blood cells, then you most definitely need to look at your spleen. You need a blood cleanse. I know you need to get on my website and you need to order truly some blood cleansers, the blood purifier capsules. But not only does this tell me that her blood production is low, this is the reason why her white blood cells are high, because the white blood cells are truly eating up the red blood cells. Now, is the white blood cells doing that, or is it a parasite inside of the blood cells? So this is an indication showing me that she has some type of fluke worm or some type of pinworm that's eating her iron phosphate up out of her red blood cells, and the white blood cells are producing themselves trying to fight off this parasitic infection. That's what's going on right now. Can I make the screen a little bit bigger? I got y'all. Is that big enough, y'all? Type in some nines if my screen big enough for y'all now. We can keep going. Let me know. Type in some nines and we can keep going. Right now, we on the RBC, the red blood cells. RBC, the red blood cells. Let me know how we doing. Type in some nines and we'll keep it going. Okay, we all good. Now, what the red blood cell shows you and what it makes up the amount of red blood cells due to cellular respiration that flies through your tissue and provides oxygen to each cell and to each tissue inside of your body. Now, the red blood cells is what brings all your nutrients. Now, remember, iron phosphate, which comes from a conversion of phosphorus by way of plants. By way of plants, or what they call plant protein. I hate the word protein because we misuse it a lot. So I'm just going to call it plant amino acid structures. It converts into iron phosphate. Iron phosphate is the only electrical magnetic mineral known to exist on Earth that's inside of our body. So whenever you put iron phosphate inside your body, any other mineral or any other alkalis or any other electrolyte, these things that we call conversions or salts, these things attach to the iron phosphate molecule. And then what it does is attach to an oxygen molecule. And then the blood is the transportation that goes throughout the entire body to drop oxygen and phytonutrients, or what we call minerals, to each cell in the body as it's needed. So whenever you're not producing red blood cells, that means you're not producing enough oxygen. Well, the reason why you're not producing enough oxygen is because you lack in iron phosphate. And when you lack iron phosphate is the only electromagnetic molecule that connects to oxygen to bring all these other nutrients on this train station to get transported throughout your whole entire body. So now we know for a fact, before we even get to the hemoglobin, that they are anemic. They're iron deficient. They're oxygen deficient, meaning that they have problems with lungs respiration as well. So not only is they fighting off a parasitical infection, but also they're losing a lot of iron. Well, what eats on iron and what eats on glycoprotein? Parasites. Y'all see that? So we need to get the red blood cells producing more. What do we do? We have to feed the bones with sea moss, dose, with kelp, with bladderwrack. You see what I'm saying? With all of these things. And then after that, we have to go through and cleanse out the spleen, cleanse out the thymus gland, cleanse out the bone marrow, get inside of these things and start really cleansing before we can start producing enough oxygen back inside the body to start reproducing red blood cells. All right, now this is how I notice the lack of iron, because all these things we looking at right here from here on out have to do with the red blood cells. Everything on down that we're going to go through for right now is going to have to do with the red blood cells. Now, when you get to the hemoglobin, the reason why it's called heme goes after the color red. That's what it looks like when oxygen hit it. A globin is what's considered a protein. Remember, I hate the word protein, so we're going to call it a simple amino acid structure. Now, hemoglobin truly is your iron that makes these things up. Hemoglobin is nothing but iron phosphate. It's the iron atom that binds to any type of heme group. When you look up these heme group, you're going to see a pentose iron phosphate backbone. They got 5 sugars on it. Okay, this is your red blood protein. Now look, Her levels is literally, let's go back to the red blood cells. It's supposed to be between 4,000 and 5,000, right? Hers is at 3,000.24. This is low, meaning she's lacking oxygen and she's lacking the reproduction of red blood cells. Not only is she lacking that now we get to her hemoglobin, which is our iron phosphate. Again, iron phosphate is the only mineral, the only electrical magnetic mineral that actually attracts any other minerals to the body to bring these minerals like zinc, like copper, like gold, like selenium. All these things need iron phosphate, sulfate. All these trace minerals need iron phosphate or hemoglobin to catch the train throughout the rest of the body to get dropped off to each different cells to build the body back up on this molecular structure. So now we see that she's losing this iron. It's supposed to be between 12,000 and 16,000. She's at 9.0. That is considered low, especially for a black woman, because we see once we really start getting into biochemistry and looking at the biomolecular structure of the so-called black man and black woman, iron phosphate is our mineral. Just like if you look at the white man, zinc is his mineral. Just like if you look at the Chinese man, calcium is their mineral. Every different race of people, a classification of people, have their own food, have their own water source, and have their major minerals that they need in their body to sustain from where their genetic disposition or where did they come from. Wherever you come from, you have a main mineral. Well, we originally come from Africa, or what we call Israel. So what do we need? We need iron phosphate. That's why when you look out and you test the blood of majority of so-called African-American Negroes, they're anemic. Dr. Sebi said it. Dr. Sebi said it. Bring iron phosphate back up inside the body and every other disease will reverse itself. You see what I'm saying? So now we see that the hemoglobin is low, meaning she need iron. So what I suggest her to do, I'm going to suggest her to go on my site and get iron phosphate. Get the bio-mineral balance tonic. Get things like this that's high in zinc, high in copper, high in iron phosphate. But when they take it, they can start feeling better. See, and these show me that this person might be a sickle cell anemia. Them cells might be in sickles because when the oxygen molecules start missing from the red blood cell and then the iron start falling off due to parasitics starting eating these iron, because what a parasite does is it drills itself into the mucosal membrane of the Golgi apparatus of the red blood cells and then it eats the inside of the cell. What's it eating? It's eating iron phosphate. That's why the red blood count is low, because shit's a parasite in there eating it. Now, once they eat all the iron up, that cell breaks off, and then once that top part breaks off and the iron phosphate breaks off, it look like a sickle. That's what you call sickle cell anemia, because the cells are shaped like a sickle now, not like an octagon. Anemia meaning is losing iron phosphate and it don't have any oxygen inside the cell. That's what's going on here. Then you move on to the hematocreatin, right? Now look, check this out. It's supposed to be between 37,000 and 47,000. But as we look in hers is at 28.3, which is what? Low again. Low again. Now check this out. This actually is the total value of your blood cells. All right. Whenever you get into the hematocrit, that's talking about the total value of your red blood cells. This is the word right here. I'll call it the hematocrit. That's what I call it. All right. This is the total value of your red blood cells. Now, we see that it's supposed to be between 37,000 and 47,000. Hers is low at 28,000. So it only indicates what we've been seeing and been diagnosing as we read in her blood work. She got an infection. All right, the infection must be parasitical. It must be a parasite. The parasite is eating her iron phosphate. She's on her way to being sickle cell anemia if she's not already there. And it looked like she's on her way to leukemia if she don't hurry up and change her lifestyle and her eating habits. All right, and she need to get her blood actually reproducing more. And she need more oxygen to her lungs and to her brain to act. And this shows you too that she's malabsorbed, because if you missing iron, then you're not getting any of your phytonutrients. So we see her total blood value is at 28,000 when it's supposed to be between 37,000 and 47,000. Now, when you get into this, this is talking about the number and the size of the red blood cells inside the red blood cell area. So this means she's lacking red blood cells, period. But we see that from the red blood cell count. It's supposed to be between 4,000 and 5,000. Hers is at 3,000. So all of it is making sense, y'all. Now, if this making sense so far, y'all type in some nines for me and we keep going. If this making sense so far. And look, the reason why we doing this is because a lot of people don't know how to read their blood work and diagnose themselves. And I mean, yeah, I wouldn't be no teacher or a true teacher if I didn't teach you these things. So if we got some understanding and overstanding so far, type in some nines and we'll keep going. All right, right now we at the hematocrit value, which is the total volume of the red blood cells inside the body. All right. Now, when you see this number is low, like it is, always look for anemia. Always look for bleeding. Always look for heavy menstrual cycles. Always look for ulcers in the stomach. Always look out for colon cancer, intestinal cancer. Always look out these things when these things are low like this. Again, always look out for anemia. Look out for bleeding, heavy menstrual cycles. Look out for ulcers inside the stomach. Look out for colon cancer and intestinal cancer or intestinal problems. All right. When these things are high, if it get too high and it's over that 4.7, always look out for always look out for dehydration. When it's high like that, these things called blood clots, and these blood clots literally calcify themselves together and create fibroids inside the fallopian tubes and inside the uterine wall. Always look out for tumors. People that develop leukemia and tumors inside their blood, it'd be too high. It's over the 4.7. All right. And always look for congestional heart failure. So when they high, you see dehydration, you're going to see fibroids, you're going to see tumors, you're going to see congestional heart failure, you're going to see all of that. When it's low, you're going to see anemia, you're going to see leukemia, you're going to see bleeding, you're going to see ulcers, and you're going to see colon cancer, and you're going to see intestinal cancer or intestinal issue. All right. Now, what creates leukemia? Remember, there is not one person that had leukemia that wasn't anemic at first. See that? So when you're anemic and you don't fix that problem and them red blood cells start breaking down, then all of a sudden the immature white blood cells start mass production. This is what you call leukemia. Leukemia is nothing but sickle cell anemia or anemia on steroids. You see what I'm saying? Now, let's get back to the hemoglobin. When you go back up to the hemoglobin, right? When you see this number, the way it is low the way it is, this is caused by dehydration. And I'm not talking about just drinking water. I'm saying that the cells are desperate for hydration, meaning you do not bring in enough alkalinity inside the body. Remember the high, and this shows you too if it's high. If it's very high, it makes up blood clots. All right. If your hemoglobin very high, you can have heart attacks, you can have strokes, you can develop tumors in your lungs, right? And heart disease, and it give you very bad diarrhea. All right. Now let's move on down. I want to move on down. So far we done went through the white blood cells. We done went through the red blood cells. We done went through the hemoglobin, and we done went through the hematocrit. Right now we going down to the MCV. The MCV, which stands for the main corpuscular value. Now, the main corpuscular value is the main blood cells. Now, you have three particular main blood cells inside your body, which is your red blood cells, your white blood cells, and your platelets. Your platelets is actually what makes up your blood cells. This is all three, and it's actually getting pushed together as a whole entire value. Now, when we look at everything from a whole entire value, it looks good, right? That's because all three of them are working together. So when all three of them are working together, we see it look pretty cool, but she need to get them up. But how can she get them up if she lacking iron phosphate? How can she get them up if she's lacking nutrition because she's malabsorbed? How can she get them up if she have parasites eating on her red blood cells? Now, remember, from self-diagnosing, that's what we done figured out, and that's what we done seen while reading her chart. Okay? That's what we done seen so far. Now, check this out. These are the main blood cells that make up the red blood cells, the white blood cells, and the platelets. Usually, this is high or low due to too much B12 inside the system, or not too much B12 inside the system. Now, this actually, when it's low, it creates heavy menstrual bleeding as well, and it shows you that it's low iron. All right. Now, we see her levels is pretty cool. When you mix all her blood together and you test the volume of that, it's pretty cool. Now, remember, I can go through all these. It's the same thing as everything else. This is just talking about the means or the mains of all of those. The means or the mains of all of those. Like, for instance, this one right here stands for the main corpuscular hemoglobin, which is talking about the oxygen percent in the blood. This is talking about the oxygen percent in the blood. Now, if you look, her oxygen percent in the blood is low. It's supposed to be between 27.0, 27,032. Hers right at the 27 mark, 0.8. That is way too low. Way too low. We need to get that to 30 even or even up. See that? So this is talking about literally the oxygen percent from your lungs that's being distributed throughout your whole body. So we see this person is lacking a lot of oxygen. She might be a smoker. She might be around mold and fungus all day. She might not get outside enough and be in the sun enough. And she most definitely is malabsorbed and malnutrition. She's not getting enough nutritional values inside of her body. That's what's going on in this particular case. All right. Then when you get right here down to here, this gets actually to your main corpuscular hemoglobin concentration. This is actually measuring each single cell of the body. So if we pull out one particular cell and we check the hemoglobin and we check the iron phosphate, you see that that's even low. Each of her cells are lacking by 1,000 units in iron phosphate. All right, we have to bring that up. Then when you get to the RDWCV, this stands for red blood cells distribution width. All right, red blood cells distribution width. Hold on, let me get that for y'all. Let's move it on up. Her total value is at 16. Hers is high. It's supposed to be between 11,000 and it's supposed to be between 11,000 and 14,000, but it's not. Hers is high. This is actually the range and size of the blood cells. All right. The range and size of the blood cells being moved by the lungs to each part of the body. Now, the reason why it's higher is because she's very malnutrition. So the red blood cells is trying to make up the nutrients by sending so many big blood cells from the lungs to the rest of her body. But we got to calm that down because this is going to thicken her blood. And once you thicken them blood, you create knots and plaques up in the arteries. Once they get knotted and plaited, they call these blood clots. What comes out the blood clots? Blood clots, heart attack, stroke. You see that? So everything we seeing is a parasitic elimination. She truly need to get on my parasite elimination. She need to get on my parasite elimination capsules and my parasite elimination tinctures. She need to get some black walnut hull, some sweet wormwood. She need to go after every cell in her body to get all these parasitics out of her bloodline, because that's what's going on with her. She's fighting parasites, y'all. She's fighting parasites. And from what I'm reading so far, this look like it's cancerous. From what I'm reading so far, from my eyes and my understanding and being in healing for as many years I've been in, this look like this is straight borderline cancer. She's introducing her body into uncontrollable cellular mitosis or uncontrollable cellular apoptosis, which is the dividing and the killing of and death of cells. That's cancer. All right, now let's look at her blood platelets. Now, once we get to the platelets, remember the platelet is what makes up the red cell production. Hers is right at 500. Hers is right at 500. Now we see as a whole, it's almost it's there. But if you go back through, something is going on. Even though she's producing enough, soon as she producing something eat them up. Look at it. Look at her red blood cell value. It's at 3,000. It's supposed to be between 4,000 and 500 and 5,000. But we know what it is. She's fighting off a viral load. She's fighting off an infection, and that's the reason why her white blood cells and these are the straight military defenses of your body. That's why they so high, because they're trying to fight some things off. All right, now if y'all got that sheet and paperwork so far, let me know and we're gonna move on. Let me know and we're gonna move on. Type in some nines and we're gonna move on. All right. Matter of fact, let me make sure ain't nobody on YouTube. Everybody on YouTube got some understanding too. Let me pull it up, see what we got. Yeah. Need to get live results and find them and go over them. What about playlists? We just went over playlists, Miss Mo 82. Single side blood. Okay, seem like everybody getting it. All right, so look, let's move it on. We're gonna move it on. I see y'all getting some understanding about that. So now we're going to go into the next side of the sheet. So let's get it. Let's blow them on up. Let's get it all the way up. All right. All right. Now we're going to look at everything else we're talking about here. We're going to look at everything else we're talking about here. Let me know when y'all ready and we're going to get to it. Let me know when y'all ready. We're going to get straight to it. All right. Now let's go into the absolute neutrophils. Now the absolute neutrophils, let me Now, the absolute neutrophils is something very, very interesting because they work hand in hand with the absolute lymphocytes. Whenever we talk about lymphocytes, lymphocytes is literally the white blood cells that actually roam throughout your lymphatic system. These things have to do with all your lymphomas, your lymphanomas, and all these type of cancers, really dealing with acidosis and bacteria. See, bacteria ain't such a bad thing. We need bacteria because bacteria live out through the lymphatic system and live inside the lymph nodes. And what do? They break down waste and they break down acidosis. Bacteria is a good thing. What's a bad thing is bad bacteria. See, that's why the three bitters are cleansing so many people, because it's full of good bacteria, biobifidum bacteria, and it's good at cleansing out the lymphocytes. Now let's get into the neutrophils. Now, the neutrophils is a white blood cell, right? Now we dealing with the white blood cells. We went over everything with the red blood cells. From here on down, we talking about the white blood cell count. This is your immunological response. This is what's going to keep your mucosa membrane up. What makes up the lymphatic system is the white blood cellular system. Everything we finna go over now, your skin and your mucosa membrane. All these things is what makes up the lymphatic system. And that's why I'm always talking about the lymphatic system, y'all, because once you're able to heal these things and get these things cleaned up, then you can heal anything. All right. Now, whenever you see the neutrophils high, that actually means that it's a bacteria infection going on. Now, you see that the neutrophil is supposed to be between 2.5, which is 2,000 and 7,000, right? 7.5. This is at 12. This shows you is some type of airborne bacteria. She either been opened up in surgery and caught a bacteria that way. They didn't clean off the utensils right, or she have a very bad UTI, or she's dealing with gonorrhea. It's some type of bacterial infection that's dumping off into the blood, and the blood is trying to dump it back off into the lymphatic system because the blood cannot stay out of pH range for more than 3 minutes, or you die. You'll drop dead. So we see that she most definitely have a bacterial infection in the viral load. Well, we knew that just by looking at the total body count of her white blood cells. It was at 16 when it's supposed to be between 5,000 and 10,000. It was at 16,000. So this is not telling us nothing new, y'all. We just breaking them down, and particularly what's high and what's making that level high. So whenever you see the neutrophils high like this, and then you go to the lymphocytes and we see the lymphocytes are low, it's supposed to be between 1 and 4. Well, this is at 1.7. 1.7 thousand is very, very low when you get to the lymphocytes. Now, whenever you see the neutrophils very high and you actually see the lymphocytes very low, this is in fact, look, y'all, this is in fact a bacterial infection. So she has a bacterial infection and her blood cells are trying to work their hardest to fight it off. So we know she got a bacterial infection. We know she got parasites. We know she's anemic. We know that she's a borderline leukemia, and we know that she's borderline sickle cell anemia if she's not already sickle cell anemia. All right. That's far. This is all we getting just far. We still got more to read to show what's truly going on with her. So she need to be on what? She need to be on the brain, nerve, and adrenal capsules. She need to be on the parasite elimination capsules. She need to be on the blood purified capsules and tinctures. She need to get on them 3 bitters. She most definitely need to be on the 4 elements to rebuild up her blood, rebuild up her body, because all these things are producing or coming from the bone marrow. Well, what feeds the bone marrow? Phosphates, carbonates, bromines, and aldines. These are things that's going to really check the system and build everything up. These are things that's going to really, really build it up. Okay. Now, so whenever you see that the lymphocytes is high and that the neutrophils is low, which is not in this case, this means it's a virus. So now we see that she most definitely have a bacterial infection and she's dealing with a virus due to her white blood cell count when we read the beginning of her CBC chart. So she's dealing with a virus and a bacterial infection. All right. Now let's move down to the monocytes. Let's move down to the monocytes. The monocytes are the white blood cell protectors. These are the fighters. These are the helper cells. These are what fight viruses. These is what kick viruses' butt. All right, that's what they do. Now, these are the main things you're going to be looking at in your leukocytes, or what they call leukemia cells. The leukemia that destroys the white blood cells and do immature white blood cell production. Right now, check this out. If we look at what it's supposed to be between 0.5 and 0.60. Well, this is high. This is at 1.9. This is at 1,000. Why? It's because she's fighting a virus. They're high because she's fighting off a virus. Her body and her blood is going through a fight, y'all. And you can see this by reading her lab work. She's going to a fight. She's fighting something. Well, what is she fighting off? Parasites, viruses, and bacteria. So we got to get in and clean out them viral loads. We need to use herbs that's going to penetrate the cell. Not only do we need to use herbs that's going to penetrate the cells, we need to get calcium phosphate that comes from plants and put it with these herbs that's going to penetrate the cell through alcohol. Because alcohol is the fastest way to penetrate the mucous membrane of each cell. That's why I love tinctures. I love tinctures, especially very, very, very strong alcoholic tinctures, because they're going to go through them cells and they're going to get the job done. You see that? So she most definitely need to be on at this point, reading her lab work, and we're not even done yet. She need to be on an amino acid therapeutic package program with amino acid diet, eating nothing but fruits and nothing but vegetables, no cooked food, no food with oils on it, none of that, strictly alkaline, all raw, because what I'm looking at, I'm seeing cancer in the making, y'all. That's what I'm seeing. That's what I'm saying. And I'm seeing her body's fighting and her body's fighting, but it ain't getting the job done because she's not producing enough red blood cells still, and she's not producing enough iron phosphate to actually bring all the nutrients inside of her, because she's very malnutrition due to malabsorption, meaning that she have a lot of stomach issues, intestinal issues, constipation one day, diarrhea the next day. You see how much you can get and learn from when you actually read the blood charts? When you learn this stuff yourself, when you learn self-diagnosis yourself, the doctors can't tell you anything at this point because you know how to read your own blood work. I don't need your opinion. Let me go back and read mine myself. You see that? That's how you do it. That's one thing I do like about the doctors, though. See, we go to them to get blood work. We go to them just in case I get shot and I need surgery. I'm not an extremist. I get shot, I'm going to the doctor. They might need to stop the bleeding real fast. But I'm not going to them when it's dealing with cancer and it's dealing with HIV and AIDS and all these things, because what you need, you need Yahweh's botanicals. Herbs is for the healing of the nation. But we do need the blood tests. You can't show me one herbalist that have blood testing machines. You can't show me one herbalist that can check your T cells and none of that. You can probably get a rinky-dink tester off of Amazon or something like that. So we need the doctors when it comes to this aspect, especially when you like healing testimonies. I love them. I want before, during, and afters. Go get your blood test, show them that you had disease. Then when we heal you, let's see, let's show the blood test showing that you don't have it no more. See, that's what we use the doctors for. We don't use them for healing. We use them for evidence that the herbs heal. You see how they go? All right. Now when we get down to the lymphocytes, we moving down. Now let's move on down to the eosinophils. Now the absolute eosinophils is a very, very interesting thing. See, what the eosinophils is, it shows you the actual how cortisol is produced in the body and how the alcohol is naturally produced in the body by the liver and by the adrenal glands. Now, whenever you see this high, whenever you see the eosinophils high, this shows you that it's in fact a parasite inside of your body. It's in fact a parasite inside of your body. Now, when you look at her absolute eosinophils, we only reading 24.24, and it's supposed to be between 5 and it's supposed to be between 50. Now, this don't mean that she don't have parasites. This just means the parasites are hiding inside of the red blood cells behind iron phosphate molecules or behind calcium or behind something else. Then they eat themselves out. Then they hurry up and go throughout the artery system, and then they jump inside another blood cell. So whenever you see these real high, this means you have hookworms, fluke worms, worms that's mature, worms that you can actually see, tapeworms, worms you see that can come out. Now, when you're dealing with herpes and when you're dealing with leukemia and stuff like this, these worms don't get that big. You know what I'm saying? And if they do get that big, it's been in your system for tens and hundreds of years, basically. So the only way we can test these is by a microscope, looking through a microscope, seeing the microorganisms. So just because this is low, that just means it ain't been picked up yet. All right. So now this is actually talking about how too much cortisol is being produced through the body, and the alcohol is being produced in the body. Also with the basophil too. All these two run hand in hand. Now, the crazy part is when we go back down to the absolute immature granulocytes, right? Now, the granulocytes are actually the undeveloped white blood cells that's being introduced to the system. Now, that's the thing about leukemia, any type of blood disease or blood disorder, especially when it get cancerous. These are immature white blood cells. They're not supposed to get introduced to the system until they're completely mature. And then even at that, there's something produced by your kidneys that we're going to talk about when we get into the kidney part of this panel that shows them, that tells them to stop producing yourself. Well, look what's happening to hers. Hers is at a 0.6. It's only supposed to be at a 0.8. So we in fact seeing that it's cancerous things rising in her body. It's not supposed to be this high at all. It's supposed to be between 0.1 and 0.2. They say between 0.0 and 0.8. So hers is absolutely high. Once it hit the 8 mark, we know that there's some kidney damage going on. But everything I'm reading so far already showed me kidney damage because she have the backup lymphatic system and her mucosal membrane have been compromised due to her white blood cell count, showing that her kidneys is not producing and not filtering enough. All right, that's what I see so far just by reading this as we keep going. Okay, y'all see that? Do y'all see that? And just speaking of this, man, just you know, we had a most definitely a loss. Just talking to the brothers though is actually a gain because he's getting the kingdom. Most High willing, may the Most High have mercy on Jonathan Paul's soul though, man. You know, he was suffering but fighting, man. He was a fighter, man, just fighting that leukemia off, fighting it off. I mean, fighting it off. Very, very strong man, but he ended up passing. And his funeral, his homegoing was today. Man, I couldn't make it, but look, may the Most High have mercy on his soul, and may the Most High have mercy and encouragement on Chris Paul and his family, and just really, really keep him lifted up in their congregation straightway. I'm just praying for y'all, and I'm praying for y'all strength in this hour, and may the Most High keep y'all uplifted, and may the Most High keep y'all encouraged, y'all. You know what I'm saying? And again, man, my condolences, man. That was a fighting brother though. He was fighting, and man, I'm glad that I met Chris Paul. He became a good brother of mine, good spiritual brother of mine. And, you know, again, y'all in my prayers. So check this out. Now, when you get to the neutrophils, we already talked about the neutrophils percentage. Now, what we doing now, when you see percentage, they are lunking all these things up together and trying to break them down. We don't really need to go over them because we just went over them. All right. Now we seeing what's going on. Y'all get what's going on with the blood work. Now, the main thing that you need to check after all these things is the kidneys. So let's get to the kidneys. Now, so far, what we done seen. Hold on, let me flip my what's the name, y'all. Hold on. So look, y'all. So far, what we done seen so far is that in fact, she it's an infection going on. Her blood count, her white blood cells is way too high, meaning she got a viral infection going on, plus she have a bacterial infection going on. It's borderline cancerous. We seeing anemia all throughout her system, meaning she lacking iron phosphate, and her red blood cells are being eaten and swallowed by parasites, meaning she got a parasitic. All these things leads to a stagnant lymphatic system or a compromised mucosal membrane. So what she really need is to get on amino acid therapeutic package. She need to stop eating all cooked foods right now. Cooked foods are very bad in a stage like this, and you need to be eating nothing but fruits, raw fruits and vegetables. Not even no dressing or nothing on your salad. You see what I'm saying? You want some dressing, get some key limes and pour some herbs on that and pour it on your salad and eat it that way. You need to increase your water intake and make sure your water intake is very good. Make sure you're putting the right stuff on your skin, no chemicals. And you need to get oxygen, and you need to get sulfate. You need to be out there in that sun. You need to be grounding, taking off your shoes, wiggling your toes in the grass. And you need to be on some highly alkaline herbs to get them kidneys open. Get some berries up in you. Get some hydrangea root up in you. Get some hawthorn berries up in you. And really, really get that blood producing and that blood production. Get some blood root up in you. Some sarsaparilla, some burdock root, some yellow dock. Go after some dandelion, really get into the trees and get into the barks and the branches. The leaves are cool, but whenever we dealing with blood production and blood cleansing, you need to be looking toward the bitter herbs, the barks and the branches and the roots. You don't need to be trying to get it all into the leaves unless you're dealing with chaparral. Now, if you're dealing with chaparral, what they call copperal, what is really supposed to be called, then that's a good blood cleanser and that's a leaf of it. But other than that, roots, burdock root, yellow dock root, blood root, get in the root. And bark, slippery and bark, get into your barks, all right? Now, what we gonna do now, since we see that she have infection going on, we see that she got some viral loads going on, we see that she's very, very anemic. We need to look at her kidneys and see what her kidneys doing. Now, after you get a blood test like that and you start reading that stuff, and you like, dang, you know what I'm saying? My lymphatic system is jacked up. My lymphatic system is very stagnant at this point. Now it's time to really start focusing in on your kidneys. So you need to get you a renal test, a renal function panel. This is going to actually test the blood and the production and functioning of your kidneys. All right, we're going to go through that, and then we're going to get up out of here. I'm going to answer a few questions, then we're going to get up out of here, all right? So let's go through that. Let me share my screen again. Let me share my screen again, and then we're gonna make it do what it do. All right. Now let's look at the renal test. Now we get into the renal test. Let's look it up. All right. Let me blow it up for y'all. Now this renal panel actually check the kidney function, y'all. This check the function of the kidneys. All right. I usually don't ask for this test unless I see very, very bad cases like this, and I'm healing somebody of herpes or cancer and stuff like that, but the parasites are in them, or they go get tested and their IgG is still high. That's when I recommend these type of tests, because forgive me, y'all, because something is going on in the kidneys at this point. All right, so of course you have to check the sodium levels of the blood that is going through the kidneys. Now we're looking at her sodium levels. Her sodium levels are getting high, meaning she might be dealing with some hypertension. She might be dealing with some blood pressure problems. But that makes sense, because when you actually get into systolic and diastolic, these represent your adrenals and your kidneys. Your kidneys and your adrenals are a direct reflection of your blood pressure. If the high part is too high, something is going on with the adrenals. If the bottom number of that blood pressure is too high, something is going on with the kidneys. This is hypertension. Then you have something called hypotension. If they're too low, these the adrenals, they're asleep. They need to be kicked and put and woken up to get to working. And this one I recommend my thyroid and my parathyroid glandulars. This is when I recommend my brain, nerve, and adrenal capsules and tinctures, because these things truly wake up the adrenals. The adrenals are these pyramid-like structures that sits on top of the kidneys that kicks the kidneys on and helps the kidney filtrate, just like the filtering system of a fish tank. Then you have that pumping thing there that sits on top, the motor. The motor to the filtration system of the fish tank will be the adrenals. The actually filtration system will be the kidneys. Now, sodium. The thing about sodium's good because it's a salt. It's alkaline. But when it gets too much and it mixed with some calcium, it binds to things. Once it starts binding to things, it becomes these big old rocks. And then now you have kidney stones, gallbladder stones, liver stones, broken down liver enzymes, and all this and all that, et cetera, et cetera. So we have to make sure that we keep the sodium not too low in the body, because if you keep them too low, you'll pass out and die. But we have to keep them between 135 and 145. Well, I'm going to say 135 and 140. Hers is at 143, which means it's getting higher and higher and higher. What do this indicate? This indicate that she have kidney problems, y'all. So now we seeing kidney problems going on, okay? Now, let's look up the potassium. When you get to her potassium is looking very low. This is actually talking about the electrolytes. All these things that I'm reading is what produces electricity throughout the body, y'all. Throughout the body. Remember, the body is electric. So we have to keep the body electric, because electric means alkaline. That's what you actually think an alkaloid is. Alkaloid is. That is a anionic gap. That's an anionic process that actually produces electricity by way of the nervous system and the pituitary gland and your glandular highway. So we see that her sodium is getting high, which showed me that her kidneys are probably being damaged and she's on her way to high blood pressure. We see that the potassium is getting low. It's a point off from being at its lowest right now before they say it's chronic. So she need to get the potassium up. But how can you get these things up and get these minerals up if you missing and losing iron phosphate? Go back to the iron phosphate again. Go back to the oxygen again, right? Now, we get to the chloride. Now, the thing about the chloride actually is indicating that it's high blood sodium caused by heat dehydration and kidney disease, because when we look at the chloride, her chloride is high. Well, why is it high? Because her sodium is high. See that chloride and sodium works hand to hand. You see that? So this, in fact, whenever you see high chloride going through the blood out throughout the kidneys, this shows that the kidneys are, in fact, y'all, in fact, disease or they're malfunctioning. Probably too many kidney proteins, and it's caused by hydration. Now, hydration actually causes high blood pressure too, because when dehydration comes and set in, the artery walls become stiffened and hardened. Then that blood come through them arteries and press against them, and that's where the pressure rises because the kidneys and the adrenals are not functioning properly. So she have kidney issues. She most definitely need to get on my intercellular cleanse, my intercellular tincture. These directly affect and are good for the kidneys. You see that? The intercellulars, get into your berries, get into your parsley leaf, get into your prickly pear bark, get into the barks again. I'm a bitter guy. I know I'm a bitter and I'm a bark guy. So she needs to get that to bring this chloride down and to bring that sodium down. That way her kidneys can actually filtrate all the urea that's going throughout her body. Because once the kidneys go down, the liver go down. When the liver go down, the adrenals are shot, and then your whole body go from there. Now, remember, the kidneys actually filtrates your blood. The reason why she's not filtrating her blood right, her white blood cells are very high, and she's not producing red blood cells enough, is because her kidneys are not filtrating right. It's not setting off them enzymes that she needs to actually feed the bloodstream. She have kidney problems, y'all, chronic kidney problems or chronic kidney disease. And we need to pay attention to that to actually aid and pay attention to the whole body. Because once we open her kidneys up, now she can filtrate what? Mucus. Now she can filtrate what? The lymphatic system, which is the key to the body, the key to healing. All right. Then we get inside her carbon dioxide. We see her carbon dioxide levels are pretty low. They not chronic or nothing messed up, so I don't really want to talk about that. Now, what I want to get into is the anion gap. The anion gap is truly dealing with the electrolytes of the body, or the voltage of the body that's going through the kidneys. Yes, the kidneys are attached to an amplifier called the adrenals. The adrenals are attached to the liver, and the liver grounds your brain. Your liver grounds your brain. We talking about electricity here, y'all. We talking about electricity. Now, look at the electricity value or the electrolyte value due to the anion gap inside our body. It's supposed to be between 6,000 and 16,000. Hers is at 6,000. That's low. That need to be up. I need to see that at a 12. A 12, at least 11, 11.5. So we see that she very tired all the time. Very tired all the time. We see that everything she do, she lacks in energy. We see that she's not, her pancreas is not working right. Whenever she eats it, she boo-boo, her poop comes out whole. Just like how you eat corn and corn come out whole, because the pancreas is not digesting and the liver is not kicking too much bile inside of the gallbladder to give to the pancreas to actually break down the food. Well, that's because it takes electricity to work all these things. And her anion gap is very low. We need to bring that up, meaning she need to bring what inside her body? Electrolytes in. What's the only electromagnetic mineral in existence inside of your body? Ding, ding, y'all got it right, family. Iron phosphate, showing that she do not have enough iron inside her body. You see that? Now, when you look at her glucose is getting pretty low. Now, when you're dealing with that, when you're dealing with low glucose, they call this hypoglycemia. All right. Now, when you get to that, that's another form of diabetes, showing what? Showing what, y'all? Showing she's producing way too much insulin. Now, what's insulin, y'all? Insulin is a salt. Well, let's go back up to the sodium. Let's go back up to the chloride. Remember, these things shut down the kidneys. So look, the blood work straight explains all this. She need to bring her glucose up to the low 80s. I say about 82 and leave it there. But the only way she can do that is by not producing so much insulin, meaning she need to get her glycogen up. Glycogen is just a fat form of conversion of glucose. She need to bring up her glucose. Well, how do you bring up your glucose? Through fructose. Eat fruits. That natural fructose will get converted into glucose. You need glucose to actually fire off APT and get energy from your cells. This is called adenosine triphosphate. This is what brings energy to the cellular structure and keep the ions firing off, or what you call the nervous system firing off, or the electrolytes due to the salts, due to the minerals that keep the electricity going in the body. Y'all see that? All this is talking about through her kidneys, y'all. So we see that she's having kidney problems here. Now, let's get to the buns. Let's get to the buns. Let's get to the buns. But what I'm seeing right here for real, I'm seeing diabetes, which is going to directly affect the kidneys anyway. But diabetes is actually caused by a fluke worm being inside the pancreas. Makes sense because she is dealing with a what? A parasite. Okay. Now, when you get to the buns stands for blood, urea, nitrogen. Blood, urea, nitrogen. Urea means to urine. Blood. How much urine is in your blood? How much nitrogen? Nitrogen is a protein, y'all. Nitrogen is a protein. Every protein is nitrogen based. Now, this is showing you how many proteins are inside of her urine. And we see that it's pretty high. It's supposed to be between 7,000 and 18,000. Hers is 17,000. This is getting pretty dangerous. This is supposed to be at a 10, y'all. I say 10 safe level, especially for so-called African Americans. Hers is at a 17,000. Her buns is too high, showing that she have too much protein in her urine. Now, how can you tell? All she have to do is wake up in the morning before she drink anything, urine inside a glass. If she's seeing a lot of bubbles, you got too much protein. It's impossible for the kidneys to break down proteins. This is where what come in at. This is what comes in after that. Huh? Your carotene, your creatinine, your carotene. Well, all carotene is a byproduct of protein. You see that? This is a natural byproduct of protein. So we see that she have too much protein inside of her blood and too much protein inside of her kidneys, which is damaging her kidneys. Let me hurry up, y'all. My computer finna go dead. So she most definitely need the intracellular cleanse. Then you get into the creatinine or the carotene. Now, all this is, like I said, is the byproduct of the proteins inside of your body that breaks down into the metabolic waste. So as we look at this number again, we say that this number is right low and not in between the numbers that we seeing, again showing that she have kidney problems. It's either too high or too low. And then we see the ratio. Her ratio is way too high. It's supposed to be between 11,000 and 13,000. Hers is at 39,000, showing that she's in fact do have kidney damage. Okay, showing that she have kidney damage. The next thing will be on here, which they didn't put on this, is her uric acid level. And I bet you her acidosis level, her uric acid level, which is supposed to be between 2.2 and 6.5, is very high, y'all. So let me get off here real quick. I wanted to answer some questions and stuff, family, but my computer finna die and I do not know where my charger is. So let me hurry up and stop this screen share and wrap with y'all real quick. So that's how you read your blood work. That's how you read your blood chart. I hope y'all truly understood this video. I was going to stay back here and answer some questions, but my computer finna go dead. As y'all can see, this person truly need to cleanse up her blood. She need to get on my 3 bitters. She most definitely need to get on my 4 elements. She need to go after them adrenals. She need to go after them kidneys, get my intracellular cleanse. But she's dealing with a parasitic infection. Her body is riddled with parasites as I'm reading. That's how you read your blood work, okay? That's how you read your blood work. If y'all got some understanding of that, please type in some 9s and I'm gonna get up off here, family. Again, I wish I can answer some questions, but my computer finna go dead on y'all. So if y'all got some understanding, overstanding, and understanding, type in some 9s. Type in some 9s. My buns is 3. That's very low. Yes, that's very, very low, Rayel. Very low. That's very low. Okay, y'all praises. What I'm going to try to do, y'all, I'm going to try to go live tomorrow if I got time. Well, I ain't going to go live tomorrow. I'll go try to go live Thursday, and I just do question and answer since I didn't get to provide it for y'all today. Again, forgive me, family. Shout outs to Straightway. I'm praying for y'all. Most definitely, especially my brother in truth, Chris Paul, man. I'm praying for you. Stay encouraged, brother. May the Most High have mercy on Jonathan's soul. I love all of y'all indeed in the truth, family. All of y'all, the World Wide Web, everybody I'm talking to. I hope this was educational for y'all. And look, now guess what you know how to do? You know how to read your own blood work. Quit letting these lying ass doctors play with you. All right, family. Shalom, shalom. My website is on here. Hit up the website. Call me. We open between 9 a.m. and we close at 4 p.m. We close on Shabbat days and all holy feast days. Hit us up, book consultation, and look, get your healing. It's time to start taking this stuff into our own hands, y'all, because they ain't doing nothing but killing us. All right? So look, peace, shalom, shalom, family.